Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Planet FPL Clash of the Correspondents. My name's James, and this week on COTC, we're looking forward to an encounter in game week 17 where the home team's got on paper an easy fixture, but they don't know if anything's easy for them at the moment. And the away team's bottom looking up, but happier. Let me first introduce you to our Chelsea correspondent, Gary Mantle. How are you, Gary?
Full of Christmas cheer, mate. How are you?
Gary's turned up in his retro 1994, roughly Christmas away
That's right.
jumper, I want to say.
That's the one. Yep.
Chelsea away kit, grey and orange for the benefit of those on the audio. The older listeners might remember. And Ben Tommo Thompson, our Sheffield United correspondent here. How are you, Tomo?
Doing good.
Good man. Tomo's in pink just to keep it friendly. From the vintage last Premier League you were in, I want to say, Tomo, is that correct?
Yeah, Lundstrom, yeah.
The Lundstrom, yeah. Right, I want to talk managers first, guys. I think we've got to. Gary, where are we with Chelsea and fan sentiment to Mauricio Pochettino at the moment?
Well, we found some common ground with Tottenham because we both now believe that he's not magic anymore. He is still, I think the fans can see it for what it is, that he's probably not the biggest problem. If you have to remember, even when Tuchel was here for his 7 games, he lost 3 of them. 2 of them were Southampton and Leeds. Obviously, it didn't work under Potter. It can't just continually be the manager, can it? Something has got to be more wrong than the manager if this is happening again and again and again.
And I realize, obviously, it's under a new era of new ownership, but the solution so often has been change the manager, right? And shit gets. How many times you changed your manager at this time of the year and gone on and won something, right? Loads of times.
Not under the Clear Lake Burley administration. We haven't. I think I'm sure I've said it before. You just have to put them as almost like 2 separate clubs. What we're doing now is just nothing like what we were doing under Abramovich.
Get that.
They've taken this different direction, and like the reality is, I think most of us would say that the ownership have got it wrong. With like the makeup of our squads, it's just not right. It's too young.
So you're saying Pochettino is not responsible? They're responsible because of what they've already done in the transfer window over the last 12 months or so.
Pochettino is not solely responsible. He's obviously got to take some sort of responsibility. He's still the manager. I still think that you can complain about injuries and whatever, and like which he did yesterday, but the squad that we had available yesterday should be getting a result at Everton. So it's not just down to injuries. I'm fed up of hearing about injuries, not just from us. I'm fed up of hearing about it from everybody. Everyone's got injuries. It's like look at what you've got available. Is that good enough? Yes, what we had available should have been good enough. So don't blame that. I could hear the tiny violins when he started saying about that he needed more signings in January.
I pissed
I didn't
myself
agree
when I
with a
heard
lot of
that,
what he
mate. I'm
said.
sorry.
It's like this is the problem, if anything. Like these signings, I think we've gone too far in the wrong direction. We've got like yesterday was completely like a rudderless ship, and I've seen that game play out so many times. And Pochettino doesn't know how to stop it. How many times have I sat here and said, when we play against an organised defence who are prepared to sit up with a low block, we can't get past them. And if they can hit us on the counter, then they're probably going to score. And it's happened against Forest, it's happened against Villa, it's happened against Brentford, and now it's happened against Everton. It's just over and over and over.
Just a quick one. Tomo, are you good defensively now? Will you be organised?
Exactly what we're going to do on Saturday.
Can you counter attack?
Yeah.
Can you win at Stamford Bridge?
Yeah.
Gary?
You might be right. I hope not. Obviously, I hope not.
Here's the thing. If I can take a step back, right? You obviously slaughtered my team. What's that? 6 games ago? And we know there was circumstances about it. But you slaughtered it. And actually, it gets forgotten. But at the point when you equalised, you were getting a real good foothold in the game after a difficult
I
start.
assume you, as a Spurs fan, was sat there at the time we equalised thinking, this lot are going to equalise.
Yeah, it was coming. Yeah. It was coming. You had a 10-minute spell. It was like the first 15, 20 was tough for you. And then you settled. It was like, you could see that there's a football team here, some good players. Then you had this breathtaking game with Manchester City, where afterwards I thought, oh shit, I've underestimated them. they might go on a real good run. I know you still had some tough fixtures ago, but I thought, I've probably got this wrong. They're better than I think I am on what I've seen over the last 2 weeks. Obviously scored 8 goals across those 2 games. And you got slapped at Newcastle, which was a bad performance, but I would also say, well, teams can fold under St James's Park. It can happen. Maybe that's a one-off. You beat Brighton with 10 men. That's a great result, considering how they are with the ball. And then the last 2 really have been disastrous at Old Trafford and Goodison. So, like, what are you? I said to you off camera before we started, it's like most teams take 1 step backwards to go 2 forwards. It's like you take 1 step forward to go 2 backwards. That's how it feels at the moment.
Yeah, except we're about 10 steps backwards from where we used to be. So I can't tell you what we are at the moment. Like we don't seem to have worked it out.
So go on, carry on.
Well, the games that you referenced, I thought the same after City. We went behind 3 times against Manchester City and came back. So you thought, right, we do have something. There is a bit of steel here,
and deserved it, by the way, mate.
Yeah, oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I thought so. I thought when their deflected goal went in, that looked like that was going to win it for them. I thought even the neutrals would probably say that's a bit. Yeah, exactly. Do you know what I mean? And then the Man United game was ridiculously bad. They were just like coming at us over and over and over and over and over. That was the second highest XG that a team has put up this season, which was
I know
against
what the
us.
first was. You don't need to tell me.
Yeah, well, I can tell everybody else. It was us against Spurs, so it's the highest against 11 men anyway. That's how bad we were. Like we're surprised it was only 2-1.
I liked your comment on Saturday when Bournemouth were winning. It was like the defeat at Old Trafford's getting worse.
It's just it. You know what I mean? Because it's like
that doesn't help, does
knows.
it? In seriousness, that doesn't
That's
help.
True.
The fact you got there, you went there, you got slaughtered. Really, you could have lost by more.
Oh, absolutely.
And then Bournemouth have gone there and slaughtered them.
And they got played off the park the week before, which was away, but still, yeah, exactly. There's no reason for us to have gone there. I mean, as bad as we were, and he thought, okay, maybe because Conor Gallagher didn't play that game.
Yeah, get it.
But he did play this game against Everton. Slightly different role. They played him a little bit deeper, really, almost next to Caicedo, with Fernandes a little bit further forward. Whatever it was, it didn't work. I mean, really, if we could have chosen, we'd have had Gallagher for Man United and then had him banned for the Everton game. But you can't choose. And we still needed to sort it out. And at the moment, it doesn't look like anyone's really sure how to sort it out.
Tomo, how do you see Chelsea?
Jekyll and Hyde. Good for a few weeks, and like I said, a couple of steps forward, most steps backwards. Too many players, don't know who the best team is. Too many players in similar positions. It seems a bit of a hot mess to me.
This period feels really important, Gary, because obviously the next 5's well highlighted, but it has some stickies in there. Like Wolves away looks sticky, actually. Luton away, we've seen how they performed against some of the top teams already this season. Liverpool away goes without saying. But actually across the next 8, bar the Liverpool game, you probably targeting winning nearly all of them, aren't you? Or in your head, you probably think we need to, or
yeah. I know we're not going to because I've seen it enough. The other thing that we're quite bad at as well is defending from set pieces, particularly with Sanchez, who wasn't in goal when we conceded the one at the end of the Everton game. But I've noticed quite a lot that teams crowd the goalkeeper, and Robert Sanchez always ends up on the floor. I think he's been really good. I think he's a good goalkeeper. His handling is brilliant. He gets his angles right. He catches the things you want him to catch, and he parries things away that you wanted to parry away. His kicking is abysmal, and he falls apart at set pieces. So it's just another way that we can be got at. There's too many ways that we can concede goals at the moment.
Can I just praise his dive for Everton's first goal at the weekend? Like, I love the attempt.
I've not seen it back.
The dive. Tomo's smiling. He knows what I'm talking about. It was a proper like cartoon dive, wasn't it? Across the box. So listen, we'll talk fantasy assets in a bit, Gary. But it's like we all got to this point was like, we're going to want 3 Chelsea. I'm sure Tomo probably thought, looking back, when I get there, I'm going to want 3 Chelsea probably. And now really, it's like, I don't know where to start. And you saying, I'm not sure how we can show consistency over this period. It's not helping. I mean, what's the target? You're 14 points off 4th. Is there? And I realise fifth obviously could be enough for the Champions League, but is the target? Is it like Europa League now, or is it just improvement? Like, what do you want?
Well, if we want Europa League, actually, I don't even know. If you win the League Cup, what does that get you in these days?
That's Conference League, mate.
That's a conference. All right, we'll take that then. We
You
haven't
take
won
it.
that. It's the only one. It's the only one we haven't won. No, I honestly, I don't know what the target is anymore. Like before the weekend, we were, I don't know, like maybe 5 points off ninth or something like that. So you're thinking, right, if we stay in touch now with this run of fixtures, then we start creeping in and we can get like 8th, 7th, 6th, whatever. That's gone because I think we're bottom half. I've not looked at the table. I've not watched the highlights. I've not looked at the table. I've come home and just ignored all of that, dwelled on our performance, but
For the
without
benefit
watching
of
it
those who
back, I
didn't know,
don't need
Gary
to.
was in the away end at Goodison at the weekend. So
Yeah.
I get that completely. You don't want to look at the league table. You're below Fulham and Brentford. This is feeling eerily familiar to conversations we were having like in April. 37 points this calendar year. It's December the 11th on the day of recording. That's mad. That's across what, 3 different managers?
4 if you include Bruno. It's
Or
also
36 if I don't.
it's true. Well, according to something I saw in the Athletic today, that's the lowest that a team has ever got in a calendar year that's been in a division for both seasons of the year, if you get what I mean. So a team that didn't get relegated in the season that ends at the start of the year
Yeah,
or
we
didn't
are
come
obviously
up.
only including from the 17 teams that have been in the league for the whole calendar year.
But that's the lowest that any of them have ever done, apparently. That haven't
I
been
think
relegated.
Palace and Forest are on the same, Gary, I think. But it's
Okay.
staggering that that's you, right? We
So
just minimum expectation is you're going to be top 6, right?
that's right. And do you know that actually, for people as old as us, people think that's a thing that started like with Abramovich. It's not. This goes back to the mid-90s. In fact, if you want to relate my fantastic jumper to some trivia, this shirt was from 94 to 96, and that's the last time that we came outside the top 6 2 seasons in a row. So that is nearly 30 years ago. We are a top 6 team. That is our floor. I've never, like, in sort of recent memory, known us to have any chance really of falling as far as we've fallen now. And
You finished top
I
6
still
this
don't
year.
understand it. In theory, we can. We can finish bottom 6 at the moment. I mean, we're below Everton if they didn't have their points deduction, which was true before the weekend as well. And now it's even more true. Now it's 4 points behind them. It's, yeah. So I don't know how, with us being in that position, I can then sit here and go, oh yeah, maybe we'll get top 6. It's like, well, I don't feel like we will.
So I want to bring you in and talk about the Blades a bit. It's obviously been a big week for the football club as well. Felt like it was lingering sort of last Sunday, Monday, Tuesday after the awful display at Burnley that Paul Heckingbottom's time was going to be up. Before we talk about Chris Wilder, I'm interested to know, is Heckingbottom going to be remembered with fondness by Blades fans? Because I know you kind of decided a couple of weeks ago you had to go and stuff. What's going to be the memory of him?
I think he kind of steadied the ship. It's going to be kind of most fans think, after Slav, got us back on track that season. We made the playoffs, very unlucky to lose to Forest in the semi-final. Then we bounced back last year. My take on it is he's a good coach, not a great motivator, and championships his level. That's kind of where I'm at with it, with Heckingbottom. And I feel like the team that we had, that was a bare minimum that should have happened last season with the talent we had in that team, especially, we and I and McAtee and the rest of them. I feel like, top 2 was not given to him, but, he just kind of followed on what Wilder did and, got lucky a little bit. Is kind of what I want to say.
I don't know if you're lucky to finish second in that league, Tom. I don't know if that's I don't know if that's fair.
Yeah, I don't. Maybe I'm a little bit harsh.
He's also got stripped in the summer of his 2 best players, given not a lot to replace it with.
Yeah,
and I'm not saying that you should have kept him or anything like that. I'm just saying I think it's interesting some of the narratives I've heard over the last week because Wilder's come back like the returning hero.
Yeah,
and he finished second and got you promoted. And I realised the brand of football was probably a little better under Wilder's season. Like I get that. But you said in the past, Heckingbottom never changed the wheel. We kind of stayed with what had worked under the Wilder regime, and that's part of what got you back up. And I found it interesting that it feels like on the outside he's not being remembered with any fondness, despite getting you promoted last year. It's interesting that.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's a weird one, and it's a weird one with Wilder as well because the fan base is very split when he came back. It was very split. I think there was a lot of both camps throughout the time. Some people think he just left us, ditched us, and there's rumors that he got $4 million payout, £4 million payout when he left. I don't know what's happened, right? The ownership is a big problem for us still, but you got to get Heckingbottom credit. He got us back up, steadied the ship. If we didn't get back up last year, we'd be in financial ruin right now. If we didn't get back up, we'd be in a really, really bad place.
What does this season do then? If it ends in the worst and you go back down, does this year in the Premier League stabilize it, or does it make it worse?
It stabilizes it. I think we took on, Burge and Brewster. We had a lot of deferred payments. Obviously, we went, nearly possibly into administration. We can't do that again. That's why we're not spending the money. So you got to look at both side points. Do you throw money on it and try and stay up, or you throw money on it and then you're in the same spot again next year? And if you don't buy the right assets, like Brewster for 20 million, and you don't sell them on when you go down, then you're in trouble. And that's what many teams have done, and not one that I want to do. So it's kind of like you've got to take it with a pinch of salt. I feel like, and I feel like, we're in a good spot. I feel like we're hopefully going to be a good spot end of this season, even if we do go down, to bounce back with some of the players we've got. So these young players come through, and I feel like Wilder's kind of, rejuvenated the squad and the team and pull everybody back together, because it was getting really, really ugly. Like those last two games, probably the worst I can remember watching us since Adkins came in League One.
It's interesting though, because you'd had this run where everyone had completely obviously written you off 1 point from, what was it, the first 10, I think.
Yeah.
Then you beat Wolves, dramatic fashion. You got a very creditable point at Brighton. You think, okay, hang on, let's cut the points on the board here now. And then the performance against Bournemouth was last straw for a lot of people, wasn't it? It's interesting. After 2 games having not lost, that just brought it straight back down to earth, didn't it?
Yeah. Those 2 games, like I said, on last time, we needed 4 points really from those 2 games to give us a chance. We got 0. We lost 8-1 across those 2 games. Right? Don't get me wrong, Bournemouth played well and they've really kicked on since then. I don't think Burnley's a great team. That Burnley performance from the first 15 seconds was atrocious. That's probably the worst I can remember watching us.
Yeah, I can be honest with you, it's some doing to concede a goal after 15 seconds and lose 3 tackles in the build up to it as well. Like,
I know.
Yeah, I mean, with respect, because there's a quality difference with much of the rest of the league. If you ain't getting the basics right like that, then you're going to struggle badly, aren't you, unfortunately? But actually, on the whole, if we look across the last 7 points, if you keep averaging that over 6 games for the rest of the season, mate, you'll give yourself half a chance. I think home form's obviously going to be pivotal in that.
Yeah.
What have you made, though, of Bournemouth, who obviously when you played them, it was like, well, we've got to kind of win because they're the sort of team we're aiming for. They're now level on points with Gary's team. And obviously Everton's results presumably haven't helped the mood at the same time either. Because Everton's points deduction probably felt like it gave you a shot in the arm originally.
Yeah, I never felt like Everton would ever be at risk just from watching them. That's games. Well, most of the season when we playing them. But, the one team that I'm looking at is Forest. That's a team, I think the 3 teams down there that came up as Burnley and Luton, that's the only team I feel like are going to be potentially in the mix, depending on what happens.
They've got to play again, Tottenham, Newcastle, Man United, and Arsenal in the next 6.
Yeah. Yep. And I feel like they're the only team I can see. I thought weeks back that Fulham might be one and they go win 5-0 back to back. I mean, the rest of those teams now, and Bournemouth spent a lot of money, right? I think they just took time to gel. They not spend 100 million. So,
a lot. I mean, a lot more than that, I think, actually.
Yeah. So to me, I've been pretty from the start of the season. I thought maybe one of the teams would stay up that came up, but for me, I can't see other than those 3 going down.
You got 3 easy away games coming up. Chelsea, Villa, and Manchester City in game week 20. Gary's laughing because he's saying, I think that's 2, actually, James. Plus, who knows what happens at Stamford Bridge. But, I mean, I take it in seriousness, Tom. Anything you get out of that freezer bonus, is it?
Yeah, absolutely.
But got to beat Luton in game week 19. I suppose that's the thinking, isn't it?
Got to beat them, yeah.
You've got them twice because obviously the game week 19 fixture repeating in game week 24. So you've got them twice inside the next 2 months. They feel like they're going to be pivotal for both teams. Like if either team loses both of those games, so
yeah,
it's probably good night because you've got to be beating it. The chance are you'll probably beat each other though. That's probably how it feels on the outside, or you can ill afford for like 2 draws. It's like it's not going to do either of you any good. When I watched the Liverpool game, I was really surprised by you set up, Tomo, because that weren't Chris Wilder.
No.
What was that?
I don't know. I was pretty shocked, and this is why I feel like just listening to him, we played. He's kind of learned from his mistake. You know, we had kind of plan A, kind of stuck to it. That season we went down. You know, all the games we went down that season were close. I think we beat Leicester beat us once, but all those games were 1-goal games, if I remember right. Feels like a long time ago now during COVID, but you know, we were always in the games. He changed, totally changed. Christmas tree is what I call it, was where we played. And we put legs in midfield. He didn't, you know, I was dreading that he was going to go back to Norwood and Fleck, you know, the old trustees, but he didn't.
He knew Norwood 2 years ago really was done with respect in the Premier League, I think.
Him and Fleck, I think. And I think that's maybe one reason why he left is, you know, didn't get the funds to move forward and replace him. But yeah, and you know, putting Brooks in there at 20 years old, he's been fantastic last 2 games. And he's exactly what Sousa's need next to him, and Sousa looks like a total different player just in the last 2 games, having someone with legs to inside him instead of Norwood. So it's, you know, I was optimistic from the Liverpool game, and then the Brentford game is the first game that from start to finish we've been better than the other team and deserved to win. The only time this season.
Yeah, I mean, to advantage, they're I know Gary doesn't want to hear it, but I've said recently, I think they're probably the worst for injuries at the moment, Brentford, but you've taken advantage of it, and there's a great goal McAtee got.
Yeah.
Gary, do you give them much hope of getting through this?
Yeah, I'd say so. I think especially now, I think everything that Tommy said was right. And I think that's the right team to be looking at is Nottingham Forest. It's not going to be Everton. Everton are going to be absolutely fine. Even like yesterday, this isn't like me trying to have any sort of dig. It wasn't anything to do with like the Goodison Park noise or anything. Their fans weren't actually particularly up for the game. Reason being, they had a massive game Thursday night. They gave that everything. It's pretty difficult to go Thursday night to then Sunday afternoon to 2 o'clock.
Which actually makes the win even more impressive from their perspective.
That's right. So that I did expect it to be like a bit more, and it wasn't. It was just that they are just set up like incredibly well. So they will be absolutely fine. Exactly as Thomas said. It's between the 4. So yeah, it's Forest that you need to get above, really.
Palace have got a real rough run of fixtures, though. They're on a point per game, but you could factor into that they haven't played yourselves yet, Gary. They haven't played Manchester City. They haven't played Brighton. They also go to Arsenal in the next few weeks, game with 21 as well. And they've got a ton of injuries at the moment as well. There's a common theme in this league at the moment. Maybe someone should just note that there's just a little bit too much football at the moment.
Yeah.
In any case, I don't know what mine and Brentford's excuse actually is because we haven't got European football. Actually, Gary, what's your excuse? You haven't got that either.
No, I know. No, I told you. It's not an excuse. We have got more than enough fit players that should be able to win games that we're just not winning.
What I found was really interesting about that comment about, we're probably going to have to go into the transfer market. There's 2 things I took from it. One, I wonder if he's already been told we're going into the transfer market and you might not have a lot to do with it, but we're going to go and spend some money again. And 2, I couldn't help but think, and a little bit of sympathy was, you got 2 players worth over 100 billion you ain't seen yet in Romeo Lavia and Christopher Nkunku. And you think that's going to be like 2 new signings if you can ever get them fit, isn't it?
So this is the thing. If someone said to me, like, if you had like whatever amount of money it was to spend on one player in January, where would you spend it? And the natural answer is up front. Well, how about the guy that was joint top scorer in the Bundesliga last season, scored 20 goals in the Bundesliga the season before? He's on our books. He's just not there. So let's say if we didn't have him, you'd go, why don't you go and sign him in January? Well, that's pretty much what we're going to have because, as you said, he hasn't played for us yet, and then he's all of a sudden he's going to come in. If we do sign someone, I want him to be someone that's got a bit of experience. It's just not working signing all of these players with potential. It's like we need something now as well. Otherwise, how are we ever going to reach this potential? And how soon did like half of these players say, I should be playing in the Champions League? And half of them are probably right.
That we're pre-recording Monday night, and I realised because the week Chelsea have had, there are going to be stories that are probably detrimental to the football club that get leaked in the press. But there's reports today that have suggested there's a number of players that you would potentially be willing to listen to offers for. One is Conor Gallagher, who I know that's the one that would like bother you the most, but there is speculation that maybe he doesn't want to sign a new contract, which I'd be staggered by because I know he only wants to play for Chelsea. But some of the other names being mentioned was the likes of Malo Gusto, Noni Madueke. You've just gone and bought these players, Gary. What am I missing here?
Gusto, I'd be surprised because when he's been available, he's played enough. He's played more than Reece James, but I mean, I've nearly played more than Reece James this season. Madueke's barely featured, so I could see that definitely being. I know he was injured as well, but I don't know. I don't really know what's going on with him.
Young, right? He's a talent.
Yeah, that we need to nurture, but we don't have time to nurture because we're just, well, we are where we are. But also where he plays is sort of on the right. That's where Cole Palmer's best. So Madueke's not getting in ahead of Cole Palmer. And if it's not Palmer, then Sterling plays there. So he's not really going to get any game time. Gusto, I don't believe. The Gallagher thing, that's exactly the kind of thing they do. And I think that would be almost like a final straw for a lot of fans already with the board. I know this speculation about him not signing, but it's quite convenient, isn't it? The same as like with Mason Mount, how suddenly, oh yeah, it's the player's fault. It's like, well, we don't know, do we? Someone's going to be putting something out in the press. It might be one. Right.
You correct me if I'm wrong here, Gary, but selling someone like Gallagher, right, puts 100% on the profit. Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if these guys know that we have to do that every year. If they've got an 8-year contract, this is factored over 8 years. So whatever they have to make this year, they also have to make it next year and the year after and the year after for 8 years. What are we going to do? We're just going to sell that many youth products every year because we're going to run out. We've nearly run out already.
Is there a chance here? Let's say hypothetically you did finish 10th, whatever, didn't win the League Cup, no European football, that there is a massive fire sale next summer.
There'd probably have to be.
Is this genuinely concerning?
I think it's getting to the stage where it is because previously we thought that last season was a one-off.
More money in January is not the answer here, is it?
No, it's not the answer. It's definitely not the answer.
Tommo's like, you got any spare? I could do with like a loan player or something. Give him some players on loan.
Absolutely loads of spare. Yeah.
We'll take 11.
Andre Santos gone to Nottingham Forest. He ain't getting the game. You'll have him, wouldn't you, Tommo?
Yeah.
He's coming back. They've got a recall clause, I think, based on that he hasn't played at all. But yeah, like it's the answer's not signing players. We've got enough to work with, particularly once Nkunku's back. If I did have to sign one, I'd get like an experienced striker who's played in the Premier League if they wanted to come.
Oliver McBurney available, Tommo? Or
I think Ivan Toney. That's what I think.
And would he want to come? If you're Ivan Toney, would you want to go to Chelsea? He's probably going to get his pick of wherever else he wants to go.
Maybe.
Yeah, but does it come down to the pick, or does it like, you know, kind of like the Mudryk thing, like blow the money out of the water, blow Arsenal out of the water? Because that's what it probably is, isn't it? It's probably you or Arsenal. And if you offer way more money and Brentford were to turn around and accept it, that's where he'll go, wouldn't it? He'll sign, mate.
Well, it didn't seem to work with David Raya.
Can you afford to do that? Go and do another 90-odd minute. Where the sympathy runs out is things like, you look at like the midfield, and I know Gallagher's obviously come through the youth system, but there's 2 other players in that midfield, cost over 100 million quid, and unfortunately it is going to stick. And like, what do you do with that area then? You have to spend 100 million on another midfield player, or?
But But we've already bought other midfield players as well. In fact, we've bought hundreds of central midfielders, and apparently one of the positions he wants is central midfield. It's like we've bought I don't
And
know how
Lavia's
many.
still sitting there.
Caicedo, Fernandez, Lavia, Oguchukwu, Cassidy, Andre Santos. It's like, what are we doing? We've bought 6 central midfielders, and now he's saying, I want to buy another central midfielder. Like, well, what were we doing when we bought all of these other players?
Tomo, first world problems, isn't it?
I know.
He's bought all these players. Tomo can't buy one. Would there be anything to spend, Tomo, in January? Or is it just it's going to be like loans and
No,
stuff?
it's going to be 4 loans, I think. Pretty sure.
Is there
He's
anyone that
already
could? Is there anyone that could go? Is there anything there
Yeah,
that's a sellable asset to the club?
probably not. I think the 2 that were sellables already gone, right? Virgin and I feel like they're going to terminate Thomas's loan. Pretty sure about that. Give us another English loan.
Yeah, Wilder's taking a shot at the team, isn't he?
Yeah, and we've got Trusty's playing left back now. Norrington Davis is back in training. We've got Lowe's back fit. Thomas is going to go. You're going to use that in a forward area, midfield area, I think. And then I think we'll look at a couple of loans abroad. I think Jefferson will go. He's not signed a contract. So
do you think this back four will stick?
Well, Baldock's the problem now. I've always been since day one saying Baldock's in the team if he's fit. But Bogle's had his best 2 games I've seen for us defensively. We all know he's good going forward, but defensively against Liverpool he was awesome, and against the weekend against Brentford he played really well. Robinson suspended on Saturday, 5 yellows. So I think Trusty will move in the centre, and I could see Baldock playing left back potentially.
Is he fit?
If he's fit, I don't know if he is or not. If not, it'll be low probably. But yeah, I don't know. It didn't seem too bad, but whether he's going to risk him or not, I don't know.
The reason I ask as well, I think against Liverpool playing the back four, it was shock factor. It was like I've not seen us. Think I'd seen Chris Wilder. I'm sure they did, but I've not seen Chris Wilder Sheffield United do it unless they were chasing the game later on. Certainly not start the game and do it against a team like Liverpool. Brave. It was a shock factor, right? And you had a chance or two early on in the game.
Yeah.
Then it sticks for the game at the weekend. You're largely, I guess, quite untroubled defensively. I think.
Yeah.
You did well.
Yeah.
But I also factor in what Gary says, and I do think, yeah, go there and park the bus, mate, because that's possibly your best chance. Like, you'd rub your hands a bit, Gary, wouldn't you, if you said, yeah, back four and they'll be a bit more open?
I suppose, but we still need to put the ball in the net. And bit funny, and that was one of the things that Pochettino had said yesterday. Oh yeah, we're just struggling to score goals. It's like, well, we're also struggling to create chances because we didn't create anything at Everton, not one big chance. So, and to be fair, like in hindsight, even Brentford at home, so they would have played the back 3, and actually first half we did create stuff. We just didn't manage to score. But if you get enough bodies in the box defensively, we do not have a clue.
Okay, Tom, I take it. General thing, you said it was a bit of a split on Wilder. Are you happy that he's back? My God, he's frozen.
I'll answer then. I'm not happy that he's back. I'd have rather played him under the old manager.
You'd have rather had a manager without the bounce.
Yeah, exactly.
I tell you what, I just thought he was holding such a fucking still pose.
No, but I mean, it shouldn't be an excuse anyway for us. We should still have enough to beat Sheffield United, regardless of who the manager is. I can say that now that Tomo's gone.
So, Tomo, you said there was a little bit of a split amongst the Sheffield United fan base in terms of Wilder coming back. That's a bit surprising. Were you happy that he returned?
Yeah, I was happy he returned. I never adjust. I mean, like I said, best manager in my lifetime, best football we ever played. Those few seasons. I was a little worried that he would go back to his old ways, but so far he hasn't. He's played
old ways. What do you mean by that?
British players, their own trusty the old group of Norwood and Fleck and those guys, and then going back to 5-5-2 and not really adjusting. Having a plan B, kind of sticking with it. Be more flexible, and he can be very bullish on the interviews and a little bit too much, but he seems like he's pulled back a little bit for the first 2. So but he's got the best out of the players so far, and it's what you expect when you go to Bramall Lane, a tough game and under the lights, and we've not been doing that. Last 2 games we have.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to make that something, or I don't need to spell it out for you, right?
Yeah.
Right, let's talk a bit of fantasy. Tommo, any Chelsea players in your team at the moment?
I've had Palmer for a while. Just Palmer.
Anything you want to ask Gary about him?
They got to play the weekend.
Is he nailed,
Yeah.
Gary? Is he nailed?
He is nailed. He's probably the only player that we've got that's nailed.
Is he? Because the constant one is Nkunku, and then you look at things like the weekend, you go, why didn't Sterling start?
Because he's not nailed. I don't know. Well, obviously because he was on 4 yellows, and we need to save him for our winnable game against Sheffield United rather than our unwinnable game at Everton.
We've spoken.
I don't know why he didn't. I think it was a mistake, to be honest.
So how did he line up the weekend? So it was what? Breuer up front, Palmer right, Fernandes more advanced.
Yeah.
And he was on the left?
Mudryk,
of course.
Yeah. Who, as it turns out, I've asked a lot of other Chelsea supporters, and they also thought he was left-footed. And I've worked out that part of the reason for this is, certainly when I was watching the game yesterday, for a player who's playing inverted, he spends so much time hugging the touchline. And most players will be looking to make that run inside, and he's just not doing that. It certainly wasn't at the weekend. He does. I've seen him do it occasionally in the past, but he seems to want to stay too wide. And him and Breuer, they were miles apart from each other. This is something that I think Pochettino needs to sort out as well. It doesn't matter who he got up front. Well, he didn't have any help. He didn't really get in the game. He was all right, but he got taken off. I don't think he's particularly up to speed.
Did he stay in the team?
I think Jackson will be back in against Sheffield United.
Okay, because Breuer at 4.9 would be, with this run of fixtures, if you thought he was going to play, you don't need a lot from that in FPL if he was going to be in the team.
I don't think he's going to be in the team.
Okay. Do you think Jackson will be back in? I mean, he could always play Sterling right and Mudryk left, couldn't he? And not play Palmer.
No. Well,
no.
Yes, he could if he wanted to, but I think if he was going to do that, he would still play Palmer, but as the 10, and drop one of the 3 central midfielders. That would be the way to do that. I actually think Sterling is best on the left. So whether he decides to go with, if he still wants to play those 3 midfielders, which I don't think we need to do, but if he does, then I think it would be Palmer.
Probably
Sterling,
not now the fixture list sees. I think Gallagher did a brilliant job for you in some of them bigger games. The way he gets round, sixes, he's an absolute pressing beast. But I agree now it's more about technical qualities on the ball that, maybe you could ditch one of the midfield 3, maybe rotate them to give them a breather. Like that period where you play Wolves Sunday, Palace Wednesday, and Luton Saturday, maybe all 3 of them could start twice. Would be a nice little solution.
That's what I would do. And then yesterday he took Enzo off, which I think must have been when Sterling came on. I can't remember, but I think so. We did go to that more like
you were behind at that stage as well, weren't
Sterling.
You?
Yeah, because we went behind really early on in the second half. So we did go to that 4-2-3-1 without one of those central midfielders, which in this case was Enzo. So it does look like it's something that he's looking at. I mean, it didn't help. So, well, I don't think he'd have stopped looking at it already, but yeah.
I take it, Tomo, you're happy to be keeping Cole Palmer.
Yeah.
Are you looking at adding any other Chelsea?
I was a couple of game weeks back. I was with Colwell, but then he got benched, and I did look at Sterling. I was close to bringing Sterling in last week, but kind of glad I didn't. So just probably Palmer for me, I think.
Gary, which Chelsea?
I've got Palmer and Sterling.
Both staying? Oh, you're not selling this week, are you? But what's your plan moving forward?
Sterling in last week because I had a second transfer, or I had 2 frees, and then I ended up using both of them, so I might as well have not bothered. But I do think just sounds ridiculous. He's an outside shout for captaincy, Sterling. He's generally been a flat track bully at Chelsea. He scores a lot against the teams that are in sort of the bottom five. So if you were going to go for a Chelsea player, I would probably say him for the weekend.
I don't hate that. What do you think of that, Tommy?
I won't be.
I mean, it's
That's more because
interesting,
I'm Polish
Gary. You've gone
comments.
from I don't know if we can score to captaining someone, like, make your
Yeah,
mind up.
well, but Sterling didn't play at the weekend, did he? And now he's fresh, and he still wants to prove something because
Well,
he
I
wants to prove something to Gareth
assume
Southgate.
that he starts against Sheffield United, but I'm also not quite sure
Mhm.
why he didn't start last week.
No, I'm
I
not
can't,
sure
I
why he
can't
didn't start
think
last
why he
week.
would need the rest.
No, I don't know. I don't know why he didn't.
I'm on
I think
wildcard,
they were
Gary.
going to take him off at Man United and didn't.
Hmm.
So I don't know. He seemed to play longer at Old Trafford than he was expected to.
Maybe,
But yeah,
maybe.
I don't know. I don't know why because Pochettino
Yeah, do you
never
know what? In
drops him.
fairness, Sunday was a big effort last week, wasn't it? Then the Wednesday. So, yeah, okay. Yeah, it could be a bit of fatigue related, in fairness. I'm on wildcard, Gary. Shall I be buying either of those two players?
Like just save him, and he's not gonna get dropped. He's our best player. It'll be madness now. It's the only hope we've got of creating stuff.
Yeah, it'd be madness now. And have we seen no madness from the manager with some of the selections so far?
Uh, I don't know. No, it's with him. I felt it's more like I want him to change something, and he doesn't. So I don't know.
So Palmer is
Um,
value very difficult to overlook, you think? Obviously, he and Sterling are
I think
both on
so.
4 yellows at the moment.
Yeah,
And I guess there will be a Sheffield United at home with respect, Tomo, is not the sort of game these type of players should be getting booked in. But, Raz does go down a bit easy and stuff, Gary. And I suppose if anyone does go in, they are going to want this player for game week 18 because of the blank
it's
and
true.
stuff. Liverpool and Arsenal
Um,
playing each other. There's an element of risk there.
do you know what Palmer got put for yesterday?
The same thing you're going to tell me.
Yeah, diving. He
Oh,
still, I mean,
you've got a team full of cheats, Gary.
and we still can't win. So they're the worst cheats you've ever seen.
Sterling's the dive at Old Trafford from I've not seen the Palmer one. The Sterling one at Old Trafford was hilarious.
Yeah. Well, I noticed even when Udogie got sent off against us, he didn't send him off straight away. He started walking over because he thought there's every chance Sterling's just
Yeah,
dived.
it could be, yeah.
Just gonna
And he
just
did
gonna
get
check the
wiped out that
reaction.
time, yeah.
That's right. Yeah, and he's like, you can usually tell. It's like obviously you could tell, but I thought that even then I was like, well, he might have dived, but I'm pretty sure going to play. I don't know how you can mess around with the team now after what we've been through. Sterling's still been like one of our better players, and Palmer's been our best player, so they've both got to play.
I find from a fancy perspective, Gary, Raheem Sterling extremely frustrating.
I find from a Chelsea
Extremely.
supporter point of view, Raheem Sterling pretty frustrating as well. He's just a frustrating player.
I also feel with respect to Tomo that like I've got a free at this. Like I should be attacking it. I'm not sure if I'm going to, Gary. Palmer feels like a sensible, why am I overlooking it? Why am I overlooking it? I, I don't. I'm not convinced, mate. I don't know if it's you but it's almost like, to be honest, I'm not desperate to have a player against Sheffield United. I want to have it because of the whole group of fixtures that
Mhm.
you've got coming up. Otherwise, I don't think I'd be interested. It's probably more my take. What's Palmer open play? One goal.
Which was
The
against Man
goal at United.
United. But I'm sure he's got a couple of assists as well.
I mean, I really like him. I said that after the game at White Hart Lane. I saw him live and I was like, oh wow, yeah, you're much better than I
Yeah,
thought you were. There's nothing to say he's a bad asset at 5.5 or anything like that. I also think you're the type of team that probably, because you've got dribblers like this, you will keep getting penalties. So I think that will still be there. That's the one over Sterling for me. But I do also agree with what you say about Sterling in terms of like, yeah, flat track bully. There could be something there I think if I went him no, I'd only want to go to 1 week. And I also know I would find your players really difficult to sell because of the fixtures you've got afterwards. Like you walk into any other players, it'd be like that for ages. You go, well, I'll keep him. He's got another good fixture this week. I'm aware of that. I also feel, Gary, that I should be buying something defensively from you. Can you clarify to everyone what Chelsea's first choice back four is and what it's going to be at the weekend? Cheers. Thanks.
If he wasn't, well, if it's true that Marco Cucurella's injured, then Colwell's the one to buy because he's going to have to play.
We'd have to play
We
left
don't
back,
have anybody,
presume, right?
yeah, we don't have anybody else that can play left back. Other than that, no. Like, I can tell you categorically, do not buy Reece James. I told you, I would have said that before he got injured. I don't know how long he's injured for. He didn't go down with his injury, but he also didn't go down when he went off on the first game of the season against Liverpool, and that kept him out for a couple of months. So this could be another 8 weeks. The last time
I
he played
suspect he's
90
not going to
was
play this
April.
side of New Year, mate.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought so. As I say, he doesn't. He can barely make. I don't even know if he's made 80 this season. I said the last time he made 90 was April. Like, the guy's just not fit. It's terrible for him and for us, but he is just not fit. He's the most injury prone player in the league. I don't know if it's like an operation they've been holding off. If it is, they just have it. Just if it's going to keep you out for 6 months or whatever it is, because he's basically out for that anyway.
It's a real shame, actually, Gary. It's gone beyond kind of joke with him now.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And it's disappointing because he's such a super footballer who I'd like to see play for England and stuff, right? I just can't see it. I certainly noted what I'd seen of him that he looked well short of peak, what I described as peak Reece James. Like, I wouldn't have looked at him and said, "Oh, you look bad," but the Reece James that most of us have gone to grow and like, I'd have said, "No, that's not what I'm seeing here at the moment."
No, I completely agree. He's not been the same player. Like, if you didn't know anything about Reece James and you'd only seen him this season, you wouldn't think anything
wouldn't
of
stand
him.
out particularly.
No, exactly. That's it. So, and anyway, he's out of the picture because he's injured. It could be that Gusto's fit and that he's going to play, but even then, now we've started playing Disasi at right back. Not that he can really play at right back. He's all right, but he's not. You're not going to get anything attacking from him anyway. Thiago Silva's going to play a fair bit, but he'll miss a couple of games.
Is
I
he
don't
though?
know if we'll.
The only reason I say that he obviously had a difficult game at St James's, and he had some odd moments at Old Trafford as well. I thought. Then doesn't play at Goodison, and again, it could just be like a fatigue game, an overload of too many games. But I also
Yeah,
suggested that it might be the beginning of phasing him out because he's the one
well,
experienced player you have got.
that's right. Who takes our average age up by well over a year every time he plays because
It's good that
he's 11 years older than the next oldest player, which is Sterling. The
he's
thing
not
with
11 years older than Sterling, Gary. Come on, man.
how old's Sterling? I think he's 10 years older than him. How old's Sterling?
How was Thiago? It's 39.
Yeah,
Raz is touching 30 now, isn't he? Nearly.
but he's not 30. I think he's 29.
Bloody
But
hell. That's a madness.
yeah, so I actually thought, to be honest, at United, there were times that he was the one that was stopping us from capitulating, and he will have like the occasional bad moment. And Newcastle, like, the highlights will be the things that he did badly. And obviously, when you cost us a goal the way that he did, and when you fall over yourself doing whatever he was doing and concede a corner, it's going to make match of the day. But I don't actually think he played that badly. But I do also agree that he does need to be phased out. But I mean, what we've got coming through doesn't have the. Obviously, they don't have the experience, but I don't think they've got anywhere near like the leadership qualities that he's got. So we do massively miss it. If we're now, we don't know at the moment what's happening with Robert Sanchez. If we're also missing a relatively experienced goalkeeper behind him, if we're now going to be playing Petrovic, who is like fairly young, then we're going to need Thiago Silva.
Well, that was the best bit because it's like all these defenders was so much of a pain in the ass. Was like, I'm not bothering with that. I'll go to goalkeeper because I knew that he obviously didn't think much of Petrovic because he wasn't even playing him in the League Cup games, right?
That's right.
So
And now, yeah,
the only thing that was putting me off him with Sanchez was like, oh, could they go and buy another goalkeeper in January? And I feel like you could do that.
but then what was the point in buying Petrovic?
Gary, with all due respect, what's the point in a lot of the signings you made over the last 12 months, mate?
Completely agree. That's the problem. I do
Raheem
completely
Sterling,
agree.
for what it's worth, mate, turned 29 on Friday. Happy belated birthday, Raz. No cheating this week, please, pal. Thiago Silva turned 39 in September, so 10 years, 3 months. I'll let you have that. That's madness, actually. That's some madness. Sanchez, I take it you haven't heard anything. You were in the ground, though. You can probably give a little bit of insight to people who won't have seen the game. Was he limping for a long time?
I didn't think he was. No, I didn't notice. It was just all of a sudden Petrovic is stripped off. To be fair, it's not like Sanchez had to do much. Everton weren't bombarding us after they'd scored, and I think it might have even been that he got injured in their first goal because he collided with Calvert-Lewin.
Well, I was gonna, yeah, it could be because that was quite a bit of an impact actually. But I was also gonna say, could it have been that he got injured at Old Trafford?
So he wasn't. He was definitely injured at Old Trafford, but Pochettino seemed to suggest it was the same thing. Because we know that Petrovic was warming up at half time and then into the second half at Old Trafford. So, yeah, whether there's something that was there, and I mean, I don't know why it suddenly got too much for him with like 8 minutes to go in a game that, as I say, at that point Everton weren't attacking us. But
this time last year,
just got to be something, isn't it?
unbelievably, Kepa killed me in FPL. Killed me. It was like every week he was turning out like clean sheets and bonus for a little period over the Christmas bit. I got him in, and sorry, mate, your season went to pot. But over these fixtures, you do look at them and think, oh, yeah, it could be clean sheet, clean sheet, clean sheet. Petrovic is if Sanchez was ruled out for a long time, let's just say hypothetically, like Sanchez out 2 months, could Petrovic be considered? And I know you've seen 5 minutes of him.
I'm really just not that sure about our defence. And as I say, the more experience you take out of our defence, surely the worse it's going to get. I mean, if the players that went off at Everton are unavailable, then our defence is pretty much set if Gusto's not back. But it would have to be Colwill. And then it's Badiashile, Disasi and Thiago Silva, and then maybe Gusto. But as I say, Colwill's going to play all of those games. But I'd like, in reality, I suppose nobody's really keeping clean sheets. So if you want to punt it, punt Colwill.
Boring now, isn't it? That's what I said on Monday's pod. It's boring.
Yeah, like I've not been an advocate of his
I
for
could have
FPL
George
all
Bulldog
season.
some proper spice and save a little bit of money, right, Tomo?
Yeah. Or Trusty.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Austin Trusty is 3.9, isn't he? I think he's had a bit of attention actually this week, Austin Trusty. I'll ask you about him in a second. I take it, Gary, the close on Chelsea assets. If you were wildcarding this week and had to go free Chelsea, subject to the injury news, is Colwill, Palmer, Sterling?
If I had to go through Chelsea,
yeah,
yes,
I'm
but
not.
No, I would probably go one Chelsea, which would be Palmer. I mean, and Palmer's getting a lot of ownership as well. He's cheap enough. He takes the penalties. He's going to play every week, so he's the one to get and keep. And
if Sanchez is fit, does that change? Would you say Sanchez instead of Colwill?
Yeah, probably. But then, with that said, it depends who your other goalkeepers are. Because if you've managed to cheap it and you've got ones that are playing, then and you just want a 4.5. I don't know. Is Colwill still 4.5?
He's 4.6 at the moment.
Yeah, so close enough.
I mean, Colwill, whatever happened, we could look at it now and go, oh, if Cucurella's out for a bit, but the problem's going to catch up with you. That would be my take. Whereas
it is, and then if Cucurella's not out for a bit, then there's no guarantee that Colwill starts either. Cucurella's actually been one of our better players.
If he's fit, it only catches up if you buy a goalkeeper, basically. Because he's definitely going to, there's no way Petric's going to be picked above him. That's how it appears to me on the outside anyway.
That was what I would have said. But then what if Sanchez is out for a week or 2 weeks and Petrovic keeps 2 clean sheets? Then we're going to bring Sanchez back in?
If Sanchez is out, I wouldn't go down that route anyway. So,
well, that's true.
There's definitely people who have gone there early this week. I mean, he jumped up in price Saturday night. So there's a few people who've obviously got goalkeeping problems Saturday and have made the transfer Saturday night before you played. My goodness. Tomo, couple of quick ones on the Blades. Obviously, Oliver McBurney be back this weekend. That's a big bonus, isn't it? I presume he'd play?
Oh, yeah. And that's what's been more impressive. The last two games is we've done that without McBurney. You know how vital he's been for us this year. We took a hiding 3 times without him. So, but yeah, McBurney comes back in for Sula. Sula went off pretty early in the second half on Saturday. I think it was 50 minutes, something like that. So I think Sula is going to be the one that they're going to use off the bench. That was the issue against Liverpool when he went off. We didn't really have anyone to come on. Cali up front. So yeah, McBurney comes straight back and he's vile in both boxes.
So I guess people could still use a Shula as a 4.3 forward as like last on the bench or something at the moment.
Yeah.
People could go down that route, but he's not going to continue starting, basically.
Yeah, he'll get minutes though. I think he'll definitely get minutes.
I'm massively impressed with the statistic that he's played 414 minutes this season and is 1 yellow card away from a suspension. That is, there's got to be some real shithousery in there. I love that, mate. Alston Trusty has said he's getting a little bit of attention now he's in the team at 3.9. You think he's going to stay in at left back? Can that be considered?
He's going to play probably centre back on Saturday with Robinson, most likely. But yeah, he's going to. I don't trust he's going to play one or the other. I think he's going to play left back when Robinson's back, but this weekend play centre back.
Yeah, I mean, I guess with respect, most people, other than maybe sort of like game week 19, a few others will be looking at it as cover generally, particularly with these away games you've got coming up. But people will only want to know with the likes of Trustees, like, is he going to play, Tomo? That's what they'll want. And the answer to that is probably yes, isn't it?
Yeah.
League One Wes has held at 4.5. At least he's a fit goalkeeper, Tomo.
Start on League One West. I've been saying this for a few weeks by now. I don't know if you saw the second goal against Bournemouth, but that is what scares me. And that's one thing I've noticed since Wilder come in. We did not pass it back to West. And when it went back to West, he booted it long straight away. There was no messing around.
Yeah.
That was a big thing. And goalkeeper is number one priority for me in January. Number one.
Okay. Trusty or Bulldog? If Bulldog was past fit, they're now both the same, 3.9. If someone wanted one of those two as an enabler, which one?
Trusty.
Okay. James McAtee. Worth considering. That's a super goal at the weekend. We've highlighted him regularly as kind of sub 4.5 might be the best around in terms of midfielders. Again, you're probably looking for it as cover. How do you see his minutes going forward under Wilder? Because they've kind of been, if you had like 45, 70 so far this season, he's obviously played 170 in Wilder's 2 so far. That sounds promising.
He's playing the majority of the game. He's our best chance to create something. He's got to be on the pitch. And that was my concern is how do we get McBurney, Archer, Hamer, and McAtee? And this formation allows us to do that because Hamer plays further back. So I feel like it's going to be kind of like Christmas tree where it's going to be McBurney with Archer and McAtee behind, and then they're dropping in as a 5 in midfield defensively. I feel like that's going to pretty much stick most weeks now.
So you're asking for Archer without the ball basically to go to left midfield. Would that be fair?
That's what he did on Tuesday night or Wednesday night. And then at the weekend, he did that first half. And then when the Sula went off, he went up front.
Yeah. One of the regular questions I get, Tomo, from week to week is, should I start Archer? Where people are like, oh, is this a good week to like stick him in? Because most weeks we're looking, he's playing as through the middle as a forward. Are there certain games or opponents you'd look at and think, yeah, play him? Because I've come to the conclusion recently, and admittedly this is before the managerial change, where it's become there's not much point bothering, is how it's felt, particularly when he hasn't had his mate McBurney with him as well.
Yeah. That's how I felt. I've been kind of vocal about Archer's like holding the ball up, chasing down, just the dirty stuff that needs to be done for us. The last 2 games he's been outstanding. Like he was last 2 games really good, holding the ball up, chasing. We were pressing high. I would keep Archer if you're playing 2 up front. I think he's best third choice striker, and I'm playing him in games at home against bottom half teams because I think he's going to get a few goals. And he had a few chances of the weekend, could have come away with 1 or 2. So
it's not been to his detriment yet, this positional change. Like he's still getting in position.
Yeah, still getting in position. And I feel like when McBurney's back, it's going to help him even more. So I think he's a good enabler.
So have you got Archer and Bulldog at the moment? Is that what you've got?
No, No, I've had Alvarez and Haaland, and I've had my favorite person, Darwin Núñez, which I got him for Watkins. So that's kind of when we're talking about Palmer. That's been my problem is I've got Palmer, Gordon, and Núñez or Alvarez, and I got to bench one of them. And I benched Palmer 2 weeks ago, got 8 points. Starting this week, got me 1 point. So that's the only problem I'm kind of having right now in my formation.
Would you rather have Archer or McAtee in your squad?
Probably
I guess,
Archer.
I guess for people that will be defined by whether they want 5 in midfield or 3 up front. But
Yeah, I just think there's more options in midfield at the moment. So I'd probably Watkins, Holland, Archer.
yeah, fair enough. Gary, Nicholas Jackson captaincy. I mean, if Raheem Sterling can be considered.
Well, I might be wrong that he's going to start though, mightn't I? It might be that Pochettino's decided he wants to give Brian a couple of games.
I'm going to leave you with this last question, Gary. If we woke up tomorrow and Pochettino was gone, how do you feel?
I wouldn't agree with it.
Would you be gutted though?
No.
Okay.
But I would think that it's just going around in circles, and it's just like we already look like enough of a circus. It's like if they're doing that, it's also as if they're refusing to take responsibility themselves for the position that we're in and for the makeup of the squad. It's like how many different managers do you need to go through before you go, this might not just be the manager. So no,
But this is their third, isn't it? You know, we're saying separate it from the previous. They obviously didn't want to, cool. You can almost say it's their second.
Their second that they've appointed, yeah.
Yeah.
But who are we going to get now that would be a better idea than Pochettino?
Paul Heckingbottom's available, and I'll leave you on that. Gary, Tomo, we must finish with predictions. Go on, Gary. Give us something positive. Come on.
I do think we'll win, to be honest.
That's bold.
I know. I'll go. No, I was going to go. I was about to say I'll go
6.
sensible. No, I was going to say I'll go sensible, and then I was about to say we'd keep a clean sheet, but that's not sensible. So I'm going to say 3-1 to Chelsea.
Tomo?
2-2.
Good lad. I'll go in the middle for now then. 2-1 Chelsea, subject to availability of certain players, maybe at the weekend. Good stuff. Gary, anything you want to plug before we finish, mate?
No, absolutely nothing.
Good lad. You can find Gary's whinges on Twitter at Phantom Mantle, and you can definitely find Tomo's in-game commentary whinges FPL_Blade. Anything else you want to promote, Tomo?
No, that's it really. Bit more, less whinging last 2 weeks. So hopefully less whinging moving forward.
Good love. Good luck to you, mate. Because listen, if I didn't know the score, I'd only have to look through your Twitter account when you're playing to get a feel of what the score is, mate. I'd soon find out. And normally something about ref expletive normally gives me an idea that you've been robbed as well, mate. Good stuff. Thank you both so much. Ian Parring's with me for the Sky Fantasy Football podcast today. Sean Fort's joining me for the UCL Fantasy podcast. Will already be available for patrons as well today. Clash of Correspondents next week is likely to be Tuesday as well, with Ricky Saunders and Sean Norton to preview the game week 18 encounter between the mighty Tottenham Hotspur and an absolutely flying Everton. Good luck, Gary and Tomo, this weekend. Cheers, gents. Cue music, please, man child.